Here's what pisses me off about every GMV Max tutorial on YouTube. They waste 20 minutes showing you how to click buttons like you're an idiot. Click here, select this, go here, set your budget, click here. Congratulations, you just learned how to fill out a form, but you still have no idea why your campaign isn't spending, why your ROI or ROAS sucks, or why your competitors are scaling and you're not. Because here's the truth, the GMV Max setup screen and going through those steps, it's not where successful campaigns are built. And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to show you the entire setup process in just about a couple of minutes, because it's really that simple. Then I'm actually going to show you the 7 things that determine whether your GMV Max campaign crushes it or it struggles to scale. And trust me, none of this happens inside of the actual GMV Max campaign setup, all right? This is going to be a full breakdown and actually give you what you need in order to build a successful GMV Max campaign so you can generate GMV. So let's go, let's get into it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and click Create GMV Max Ads. This is located inside of the TikTok Ads Manager. And then you want to navigate over to the GMV Max tab up here on the other side. Make sure you've got your shop selected. You'll open up this page. You click Create GMV Max Ads. TikTok has made this so simple. So it's really not a whole lot of overthinking. It's not like running Facebook ads on Reddit. There's not really a ton of strategy inside of the setup phase because they help you make it easy, right? They make it easy for you. So the first thing you want to see at the top is products. Promote all products in your TikTok shop. What I would recommend on your products you should promote is 1, less SKUs is a little bit better, I think, in my opinion, from what I've seen in terms of performance. And then the second thing is, if you want to promote certain SKUs that you have more quantity of, that you have more hero products around, that are a better price point for TikTok shop, hand select those top 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 products, right? If you want to promote your products, feel free. It's not going to make a massive difference in terms of your performance as much, as long as you're not adding completely random, completely different items, like say you want to add a backpack with a pre-workout and a tire, right? Like that's such a stupid example, but you get my point, right? Make sure the products are in line with each other and would fit around making creatives for the type of person you're going to be advertising to then maybe pick up as well as an add-on item, right? Optimization and budget. This is where you want to set your target ROI. There's 2 different types of delivery mechanisms that we'll talk about with target ROI and max delivery. We will discuss that after we go through this setup. Your product target ROI should be set pretty low when you start out because basically your goal is to collect data. You want data coming into the account so you can then better optimize for higher ROI. Do not set your ROI too high here. Do not go and set it at 3 ROI. You are not going to get 3 ROI. And guess what? Your campaign is going to spend about 20 cents, 60 cents, 80 cents a day. And you don't want that. You need to give it data. You have to understand that when you start a GMV Max campaign, you will lose money. But that's part of the deal, right? You have to allow it to acquire data for you to then get you purchases, all right? This doesn't just start and work from day one. Now, if you're an existing brand and you're trying to figure out where you're at right now, if you already have over 100 sales on your GMV Max campaign, you can set the target ROI a bit closer to 1 ROAS. If it's not working, you want to set it low still. So that's where you want to set your target ROI for. Your daily budget, whatever you're comfortable with, it doesn't really matter too much. The more budget you have, and also considering the cost of your product and how much your product retails for is very important because you want to be at least 2x the cost of what someone would pay for your product. So if your product's $50, you should have a $100 a day budget. If your product's $200, you should have a $400 a day budget. It's all dependent on your retail value and what someone has to pay because you want to basically guarantee that you can get a sale every single day, right? That's the goal. You want to get a sale a day. Your ad creative. You want to go and click Manage your ad creative. Now, the reason there is no authorized post here is because we already have a campaign running for GMV Max with all of the authorized posts already in the campaign. But here you'll have a selection of authorized posts that you can select. You can handpick all of them, or you can simply just select all of the creatives, which I would recommend is let GMV Max give them the control to make sure that all the creatives are on auto select, right? Use auto select and allow it to learn on its own. I wouldn't really recommend cutting out creatives unless there's specific creatives that you just don't think are aligned with the product that you're promoting, all right? You want the creative to be promoting the products that you're actually selling. Pretty straightforward, right? The next thing is the promotion days. Promotion days is an option that comes up after you've gotten, I believe it's 100 sales. So you may not even see this option inside of your campaign when you go to set it up. I would recommend from our testing to turn off promotional days unless you have a massive daily budget. We've found that turning off promotion days really helps with just allowing GMV Max to spend more regularly. We're seeing some weird behavior with promotional days on right now. So it's spending all of its budget between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. in the morning. And it's basically a gamble whether it gets sales or not, depending on who's online and who sees the ad. So turn that off. I would recommend if you have smaller budgets. If you have a higher budget, this can work, but I would recommend turning it off either way. It just seems like a kind of a gimmicky feature right now that they're still trying to iron out. Now, the next thing is a schedule. We don't set a schedule. We just set it, start it. Never been the type of person over the last 10 years of doing ads of scheduling for 12 a.m. the next day. This is just what we do. Name your campaign, whatever you want. And guess what? You click publish and you call it a day. Now, with all that said, if you have any questions about any of this, please let me know. Leave it down below in the comments. But let's get into the meat of this video, all right? How to set up GMV Max campaigns and actually get results. Here is a couple of just screenshots of some results that we've generated on GMV Max. You can see here we spent 80 grand, generated 171 grand with 2.17 ROI. And, you know, the reason I'm making this too is because about a year ago of the recording of this video, I made a post on my Facebook about how we built a 250K a month TikTok shop. And over the past 30 days, we've scaled the shops, and over the last quarter, $1 million a month, spending over 100K in ad spend at over 2 ROAS. Now, this particular brand that we were working with had a pretty low cost of goods, or break-even ROAS, sorry. So our break-even ROAS was low enough where, you know, over 2 ROAS was still good on the store. And they wanted to aggressively scale. And, you know, $133,000 spent, $270,000 generated, 2.02 ROI. Now, for some of you who are watching this video, you might be seeing some daily trends on your GMV Max that look something like this, where you spend $38 a day and you don't get any sales. Or maybe you spend $19 a day and you don't get any sales, okay? Or maybe you spend $27 a day and you get one order. Or, sorry, I think I didn't say any sales here, but you might be getting, you know, 5 orders here, right? At a 2.87 ROI. Maybe there's a combination of the GMV Max campaigns just spending differently on every day, and you're trying to figure out, how do I get it to spend more? How do I get it to do more like this ROI of 2.87 instead of getting a day where it's 0 and I spend $38? Well, there's lots of reasons for that. And in order for us to understand, in order for me to help you, we need to go back and understand GMV Max as a whole and what actually makes it successful. Because at the beginning of the video, I said it doesn't actually happen inside of the setup phase. It happens outside of the setup phase. So we want to dig into that. Okay, let's dive into GMV Max anatomy and guidelines to give you an understanding of how this campaign actually works. Now, what I'm going to do is I have actually written out some definitions behind things in a very simple way for you to be able to conceptually understand these points. And we'll actually elaborate, dive deeper, and kind of go through all this in pretty rapid form here. But the reason that I've done this is because I believe that TikTok Shop and GMV Max is grossly misunderstood, and I want to break it down very simply for you. The whole purpose of making this video is to help more sellers who are even experienced or even beginners in just understanding the platform, because it's a lack of education on why people are struggling to scale on TikTok Shop, and I want to share all the knowledge that I've learned over the last few years on what's happened, and also my whole background on building a $10 million, or we've done $10 million in sales since we started in 2015 within our e-commerce brand. And the reason I'm sharing this is just simply because of that. And I find a lot of fulfillment in being able to teach and help. I do enjoy teaching. So let's get into this. So the first thing that I wanted to touch on is what GMV Max is not. Okay? What GMV Max is not. This will help us understand what it is. Okay? It's not a set it and forget it platform. You can't just turn on GMV Max and expect it to convert profitably. Now, in the campaign setup, it's very straightforward. There's not a lot you have to do, but there's many other elements around this that we're going to talk about in order for you to help get GMV Max spending, help it get higher ROI. It's also not a replacement for having a strategy. All right? Bad content still equals bad results. All right? Bad creative equals bad results. It's also not Facebook ads. It actually includes, or the attribution, very, very important here, attribution is organic and paid. All right? So those of you who had this burning question for a long time, it is organic and paid. When you see your ROI on your GMV Max, it is organic and paid. Combined sales. But don't ask me why. We haven't been able to separate them at this point. I'm sure it'll be a feature they'll add. You cannot at this point see how much your GMV Max paid is separated from your GMV Max organic, unfortunately. We've asked so many times. It's probably a feature that's coming out in the future, if not already has after making this video. And the last thing is, it's not magic. And what do I mean by magic? Well, I mean, you still have to have a good product. You still have to have a good brand, right? You still have to have a UVP. You still have to have good margins, right? These are all very, very important in building a successful brand on TikTok Shop. Essential. So now we've identified what GMV Max is not. Let's identify what GMV Max actually is. All right? GMV Max is TikTok's automated ad system. This tests creative videos, finds winners, and scales them. All right? That's essentially what GMV Max is. GMV Max is TikTok's automated system that tests creative videos, finds the winners, and scales those creatives to generate sales. Okay? That is the simple definition of what GMV Max actually is. Now, there are two types of GMV Max. There is product GMV Max and live GMV Max. This automatically picks videos, products, and placements on TikTok. And this is what most brands use. This pushes traffic to your live streams to generate sales. So whenever you do a live, you can run these campaigns and it will help bring traffic to your live streams. Okay, so those are the two types of GMV Max that you can set up. Now let's zoom out a little bit here and let's actually talk about the GMV Max stages. So basically what we have is we have a stage called in queue, we have a stage called learning, and we have a stage called delivering. You can see this inside of your GMV Max campaign. So when you go on your GMV Max campaign, you click view details, it'll take you into there. Then you'll have to scroll down to your product, click view creatives, and then inside of there, you'll see these tabs that say in queue, learning, and delivering. There's a couple other tabs. We're just going to focus on these three. And the reason why this is really important to understand, because this is how the actual campaign functions. Okay? This is what happens. This is giving you an inside look into the brain of the GMV Max campaign. Okay, so let's talk about what in queue is. This is where TikTok is loading up your creative. Okay? This is where it's ready to be put into a learning phase where it will get some spend, and then TikTok will decide whether it will deliver or not deliver. That's essentially what in queue is. Now, the learning phase is when TikTok is testing your creative. Okay? So this is the testing phase. Typically, the ad will spend anywhere from, say a day to 3 days, 4 days in there before it decides where it's going to go. And then the delivering is basically the proven winner. This is where all the ads go that are on the precipice of being able to scale. And then we have delivering, which is proven winners, or that TikTok deems will get more sales. And this will actually get the spend, right? This will be where they'll actually spend a lot more in the delivering phase. So these are the three different main stages of GMV Max. So they go from being loaded up to testing, and then delivering and getting sales. Now the other phase is the not delivering, okay? And the not delivering phase is basically where TikTok has deemed that they're not going to convert. In queue, learning, and delivering. What do you need to focus on with this stage? Okay, so the goal here, what is your goal? Your goal, get as many videos here as possible. All right. You want to flood the in queue. This is where your funnel begins. This is the beginning of your funnel. This is where all the creators from affiliates, your brand content, get funneled into in-queue, and you want to keep this pipeline open and constant new creative coming through this in-queue stage, right? And you can monitor this by looking at the GMV Max under the view creatives. You can see how many are in queue, how many are learning, how many delivering, right? You want to keep these two columns very stocked up so that we continuously have new content going in and we don't suffer from creative fatigue too much in the delivering stage, all right? So then in the learning phase, your goal is to make sure we have creative, all right? So similar goal to in queue. We won't have any in learning if there's none in queue, all right? Now the goal for delivering is to just let it run. Don't make big changes. Just watch the ROI, all right? And you want to be looking at what creators are getting the higher ROI. There may be opportunity for you to reiterate on some of those creatives and make new ones to put back in queue and learning from the affiliate creators that you're working with. So it's this whole machine, right? This machine works in basically delivering your creatives, and the more that you have in delivering, the more you can scale your budget. So this is really like the main goal here, is we want to get creatives into the delivering stage as the main focus for your strategy. Now, the next thing that we need to understand is the types of campaigns. So we're going to go over here and we're going to look at the types of campaigns. And this is what we mentioned earlier, which is we have target ROI and we have max delivery. So in a target ROI scenario, we can set the profitability, essentially. Say we want to set a 2.5 ROAS, right? So 2.5 ROI, this would equal 250%. So the way that you put in the information is similar to how you do Google Ads, where you set a target ROAS in Google with a percentage. That's the equivalent of what the ROI is as well. And that's how you set up your campaign. And this is the really important detail, is TikTok will only spend if it is confident that it will get you that return. So there are so many scenarios and questions and inquiries I have about, like, why isn't my GMV Max campaign spending? It's likely due to you setting too high of a target ROI without enough data in the campaign for it to not spend. And so the way you change that is lowering the target ROI a lot lower, say down to 0.8, 0.7, 0.6, and keep going down until you start getting more spend, so that the GMV Max can start getting more confidence in where your customers actually are and how to get more profitable sales. So this is a really important phase where you can protect yourself a little bit, but if you're not spending enough, just continue to drop the ROI down is a good way to start spending so you can start collecting that data. Now, max delivery. Max delivery is spend as much as possible regardless of ROI, okay? So essentially a normal campaign, you set a budget of, say, $100 a day, it's going to spend $100 a day, all right? That's essentially what it is. So it disregards any ROI, or doesn't have any ROI protection here. So when I recommend people using max delivery and target ROI is if you are just looking, you have a lot of cash to inject into TikTok Shop, which you want to go into TikTok Shop with a little bit more cash to be able to put into it. I highly recommend having existing revenue elsewhere to help with this if you want to do max delivery, because this will actually get you the data quicker in max delivery, and then you can switch to target ROI later. But if you're more of a bootstrap brand, you want to start off really slow and kind of build into it, it might take you longer to get where you want to go, but target ROI might be a safer bet for you. So these are two important things you need to understand about running the GMV Max campaign, because they run completely differently. So now let's talk about one other important part, which is the GMV Max attribution. All right, this is important. And we already mentioned earlier that the attribution includes organic and paid when it shows you the ROI. All right. And this can be kind of throw some people off too, because this is not really a common thing to show organic sales inside of a paid ads campaign, essentially. But this is important to understand. The other important thing that I wanted to note down for you guys too is if someone sees an ad after they have basically scrolled past an ad or something that's running in GMV Max and they later buy organically while your campaign is running for GMV Max, all right, GMV Max will get the credit. So if someone scrolls past an ad or something running in GMV Max, could even be a product card, then they go and buy organically afterwards, it will still credit the sale to GMV Max. So that's why when we're looking at our ROI on our GMV Max, it really is a representation of the health of our entire shop. Because if we're in a negative GMV state, it basically means we have no organic content to aid in us having a good ROI on our entire store. GMV Max paid does help us with getting more exposure, right? But that's why I also mentioned earlier that, or I think I mentioned this earlier about having a really good shop score, because that also helps you with organic exposure. Having good content made from the brand, or having someone in-house make content as well as affiliates, is a critical component of your success. You can't just expect to turn on a campaign, send out a few samples, and think that it's going to work. There's a lot more to it. And it doesn't need to be complicated, you just need to know how it actually functions, which is why I'm kind of breaking this down for you. So that is how the attribution works. So hopefully that answers some questions. So I wanted to break down another strategy, which is Creative Boost. You may have seen Creative Boost inside of your GMV Max. Creative Boost feature is pretty cool because you can basically manually select creative. So if you have a creative, say that you want to test and see how it does, because you're confident that it can get sales and it's just not getting spent, it's not being tested, then you can manually put a budget of $10 or more on that creative. So it has to be a minimum of $10 for a creative boost. And we do this to help get creators into that learning phase to test if they're going to deliver and get sales. So Creative Boost is more of an advanced feature, I would say. I wouldn't recommend doing it early on because you kind of want to allow GMV Max to give it as much ability to kind of figure things out as you can and just kind of control the GMV Max with your inputs, which is your creative that you're putting into the campaign. And this is really important because sometimes, you know, there's creatives that could crush that just don't get budget. So this is a way that you can kind of fix that. All right. Now, there's one other thing I wanted to mention that I actually didn't have noted down, but I just want you to touch on this briefly. But when it comes to basically your content, right? When you're thinking, what content do I need to make? What you be thinking about is our top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel content. Now, what that means is basically there's different awareness stages based on the actual content that you're making. Say, for example, you want to attract someone who doesn't know anything about you, doesn't know anything about the problem or solution that you offer, then they're going to be more likely in the top of funnel stage, right? But if it's someone who already knows about you, then you need to be pushed over the edge, need discount maybe to get over the edge. Bottom of funnel content is much more important. So it's kind of like a funnel because a lot of this content that you want to be making for GMV Max is, 70 to 80% of your content is at this top of funnel stage. This could kind of spill down into the middle of funnel, which is more of the consideration stage. This is people who are deciding whether they want to make the decision or not. Okay. So consideration, I spelled that totally weird. And so in here, you want to be like somewhere between, 30 or 20 to 30%, which, kind of overlaps with this percentage here. And bottom of funnel, you want to be around like maybe 10% of content. So 1 in 10 piece of content, you want to be at bottom of funnel, and you want to have the rest at the top of funnel, middle of funnel. So we're going to make another video, or actually I have made another video on this, breaking down the creators and how to actually work with creators, where I talk about this a little bit more in depth, that I'll link above here on this video. But you can open up another tab to watch after this video right here. Okay. So that is going to be about the Creative Boost feature. I did want to talk about a couple other things here as well, which is also the creative volume requirements. You might be asking yourself, well, how much volume of content do I need in order for GMV Max to get results, to spend, etc.? Now, the benchmark that we look for is 7 videos per day. All right. You might be freaking out thinking like, holy crap, that's a lot of videos. Well, that's what is recommended because there needs to be enough content. GMV Max will allow, GMV Max needs this volume of content in order to optimize and find content, winning content. And basically what this does is it doesn't guarantee you success, but it's a pretty good indicator of success. And we notice that a lot of affiliates who make content are very successful if they're posting 7 videos a day. And also with 7 videos a day, this gets you to your 50 videos per week. And if you can generate 1 sale per video, that gets you to 50 sales. So the ideology here is about, 50 videos a week, which then to get GMV Max out of learning, you need 50 sales. So you'll hit that 50 sales, get out of learning phase every single week by making 50 videos a week, generating 1 sale each, right? It's not going to always end up like every video is going to get 1 sale, but like you need to have that volume down and you can work towards it. Now, you're asking yourself, well, that means I'm going to fail because I can't make 50 pieces of content a week. This is an ideal scenario. This is your goal. Your goal is to work towards 50, okay, per week. That's the goal. This could be brand content. This could be affiliate content. This could be sample requests. This could be a combination of all of them, but that's the goal. That's the metric and KPI you look for, and you'll see a lot more momentum with your brand if you're hitting this goal, all right? So that's kind of how the creative volume works. I wanted to touch on that. This helps you also avoid, creative fatigue. Creative fatigue is obviously still a thing, and it also allows you, which is pretty important part of this, is keep finding winners. You can't rely on just one video continuing to get you sales 12 months of the year, right? You have to keep testing and trying things. Okay, so I'm going to touch on 2 things here as well, which is going to be important, more of an advanced, strategy or element to think about. But so I'm going to touch on another thing here, which is breakout signals. And breakout signals is a part of our $1 million GMV machine that we really try and dial in. And this part of it is really down to the intelligent-based scaling ideology that we have here at X Factor and here at Shop Academy, is making sure that you're tracking your metrics and making sure you're looking at what's actually happening with the creative, right? We don't want to be having the mindset of throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks and just making more of volume, right? We're not making volume to get volume. We're making volume with the intention of the quality of the volume that we're actually putting out and maxing out our resources to be able to create the most content per week that we can as we work towards scaling. So identifying breakout signals is important because it kind of allows us to kind of maximize on the content that we're already delivering or already testing and not have to feel like we have to increase volume all the time and get more and more and more resources poured into it without actually knowing what's working and what's not. So we need to track our hooks, what is working and also what is not. Same thing we talked about at the beginning, what GMV Max is not and what it is. It helps us understand better about how to have success on GMV Max. Same rule applies with creative. The other thing is tracking the main idea of the content, the awareness stage, right? There's awareness stage. We've got main idea of the content. And if we don't know what hooks work and what hooks don't and what main ideas don't, what formats, what strategies, and styles of content we're making, then we're never going to be able to identify breakout signals. We're never going to be able to truly recreate those breakout signals. Now, the breakout signals, what we're talking about here is we're talking about when a video is 1K GMV plus. This is a breakout signal. This gives us a signal that there's something about this particular creative, creator, or content that can help us in giving us an idea of what creative works, okay? And when we know this, it's going to help us to recreate it and to incorporate into our next round of creative briefing and details to the creators that we're working with to make content for us. So in our sample requests and our messages to those creators, we can say, hey, these videos generate over 1K GMV. This is actually going to help you to guide your creators and consult with them about what content to make and what works, because they want to make money too, right? So give them the content that's actually converting. Very, very important. Another indicator here as well is, you can look for secondary metrics like high watch time. So this might be 50% plus. This might be a conversion rate of 2.5% or above, right? Another metric that we look for is just a strong outbound CTR or strong CTR. It's not outbound because it's on TikTok. I'm thinking about Meta ads, Google ads. Strong CTR as well, getting the creator to actually cause someone to take action from it. And this is really important. We need to track what creators are generating GMV. Now, another thing I want to mention here is any video, any vid with 1 sale is an indicator. We still want to pay attention to it because if it has 1 sale, there's something about it that got that sale. So we want to focus in on that as well. All right. So that's that metric. And then this is a common issue that I see, or a common problem that I wanted to make sure we identify here, or we map out a little bit. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is when the budget is not spending. All right. If the budget is not spending, I would assume that you're running target ROI. And in order to really test, and you want to do this kind of strategically, is if you want to test like what ROI you need to get it down to in order for it to spend, let's say that you set your target ROI at 2.0, okay? And you spend, let's say it only spends like $1.80, okay? Then what you can do is lower it down to say 1.8, drop it by 0.2, and let's say this spends, you know, $1.92, right? It doesn't spend a whole lot more. So we keep dropping it more. And so you can do this gradual drop if you'd like. It takes a little bit longer. You want to change this maybe every, let's say every 2 days, I would say that you want to do this. Sometimes even 3. And then once you get it down to a certain point, it's going to start spending more, right? So then you drop it again. You drop it to 1.4. And then it spends, $11.63. And so you can keep dropping it until you get it down to your daily budget, basically. So let's say it spends the $30 or right around there. Then your budget, right, is you had $30 a day. And so now this lines up with the ROI that you set. Then you got a pretty good indication of where you kind of need to be. Now, I would still recommend if you're not getting sales to even go like less than 1.2. Don't be afraid to go under 1 ROAS, because under 1 is where you start getting more momentum, more data points, and you obviously just want those conversion data points in your GMV Max in order to get it towards getting out of learning. Because you have to remember that even though we're getting this budget, this down, we still need to get 50 sales per week. Because this gets us out of learning, right? Learning phase of GMV Max. It requires this. Okay? So keep that in mind. That is a common problem. So let's break down the strategy here. Okay? So what do you actually do? Have a couple of things I wanted to share on the cold start GMV Max campaign strategy. If I was cold starting over again on a new account, this is what I would do. I would start a target ROI. If I had a smaller budget, I would start the target ROI at 0.5. And I would spend about $20 to $40 a day if I have a smaller budget, okay? And then I would kind of see how that went the first week, see if it would spend, see if it would get to that budget. If it doesn't, I would actually drop the budget even more from 0.5 to say 0.4, 0.3, okay? Until it gets to spending about that amount per day. And what I'm looking for is like, do I have enough creative running through the GMV Max, right? So I would be asking myself, do I have at least 20, 30, 50 videos? If I don't, then what I want to be doing is get or make more content, all right? Content will get you better results and fuel GMV Max more than it will messing around with the ROI and the target spend and budget and all that, okay? This will get you more results if you focus more on getting more content, because what it comes down to is why it will convert and why it won't convert is always the creative, okay? It always comes back to the creative. And so what I would do is as you gradually get more content, right? More content, it will get more sales. And the goal here, right, which you might think, oh, it's getting profitable, right? Profitability. No, profitability is not the goal here. The goal is sales and data, all right? That is the goal, sales and data. You want to get to 50, 100 purchases in your account. Just like you start Meta, you need 50 to 100 purchases in the account in order to make a decision on what you're going to do, where you're going to go, how you're going to adjust, right? That's the goal. And the way you fuel this is with, again, making more content. So that's what I would recommend for a cold start. Just really simple. We'll do a deep dive breakdown on total strategy because I've already been over a lot in this video. But for an existing campaign, let's say you're on this video because you're trying to understand why GMV Max is not converting. And right now, let's say you've spent $2,300 so far at a 0.4 ROI, and you're like, what do I do? Why isn't this working, right? Well, what I would say is practice patience, okay? Practice patience, right? I don't know how long, right? If you've already been doing this for, let's say, you know, you've already been on TikTok Shop for 60 to 90 days, this is where you can start making some adjustments. If you're still sub 30 days, I wouldn't. This is not concerning to me. The only thing that I would be asking myself is, like, I'd be looking at content, right? Clearly, at that spend, there's no content that's converting, or it could be to do with your brand and product. So I'd be asking myself, okay, what's our price point? Do we have a strong UVP? Do we have an attractive product that's different than all the other products on TikTok Shop? Are we sending out enough samples to get content? And also a factor of this is brand awareness. If it's a new brand, that's going to take some time to build some trust. Because another thing that can happen in this stage and why you don't get sales is reviews and sales. Because everyone can see how many sales and how many reviews are on your listings. And so it's a trust thing. So if you want to build trust, you've got to do something to build that trust, which is have reviews and have sales on your products. And so one thing that you can do in order to do this, and I'll link this down below in the description, is use a platform called Sellico. Sellico will actually send out, products or products to creators who will then purchase from you. And you can't force them to leave a review, but they're invited to leave a review that's compliant with TikTok policy. And this can boost your reviews and also your sales on listings. And you only pay the cost per review or cost per sale, essentially. So you get reimbursed for the money that you send to the creators to purchase. But then your net cost at the end is just you pay a little bit amount of money per actual review, or every sale, sorry. So this is another video that I'm going to break down the whole process behind that. I already got asked that on another video that will probably already be on the channel. And if it is, I'll make sure I link it above here for you to open up a different tab and watch after this on showing you how to set all that up, because it is really, really powerful. Okay, so what are some of the tacticals here for an existing brand, okay? I would look at, over the last 60, 90 days, what creatives have sales, okay? Because it's going to be, more than likely, this is going to be a creative problem. If you've got your brand dialed in, your product dialed in, you know, your price point, making sure you're doing discounts right. Discounts as well are important. At least, you know, let's say 10 to 30% off, right? And you're a decent price point. What creatives have sales, right? I would then dissect and I would draw conclusions or takeaways from these videos. Because more than likely, you're at a stage where you do not have proven structures and frameworks behind your creatives that are generating you sales. But again, remember that success leaves clues. And if we have sales on previous products and previous creative, we need to dissect them. And I invite you to obsess over your creatives that have a sale. Obsess over them. Break it down. Download the video. Get the transcript. Put it into ChatGPT or Claude. Ask it, what awareness stage is this creative? Why did this creative got this many sales? Why do you think it got sales? Break it down. Give it the information that it needs in order to help aid in you figuring out what made it work. And then have Claude or ChatGPT give you, right? Take the transcript. So transcript. And have it break down what worked, right? And what didn't. And then create some variations based off your conclusions of winning creatives. I want you to obsess over your creatives that have sales, because success leaves clues, and those creatives are the things that are going to help you get those indicators of success. Now, yeah, maybe you had a video go viral, but you only got a sale. We had that happen recently to someone that we're working with, and they got their very first sale. Video went viral, 300K views, and you know, the big question was like, well, why didn't we get more sales? Well, it's like, well, this is the big W here. This is a big win because we've now gotten a sale, our first sale. It's a big deal. We want to dissect that creative. We want to obsess over making variations of hooks, same styled content, try something different in the main content to actually convert them more, create more emotion to sell, right? All these things we need to be doing in this particular stage. And so when I talk to an existing brand, I always ask them, what hooks are working, what hooks aren't working, what type of content's working, what type of creators are working. And a lot of the times they're just like, we're just focused on volume. We're just getting, you know, X amount of creatives a week and that's what we're doing. I'm like, you're throwing crap at a wall. Like, you're not analyzing. And so this is where I see a lot of brands get stuck, is their ROI is really low. They're spending all this money thinking that if they spend more or over time, their ROI is going to increase, when in fact, they aren't even analyzing their creative. Do an analysis of your creative, guys. All right? You have to. You have to. It's so important. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about this full strategy, I know we talked just about the Max engine, which is a piece of our $1 million GMV machine. If you go down below in the description, you can find a free training that you can download that will reveal all the other pieces of the $1 million GMV machine to help you scale and make $1 million a year on TikTok Shop and scale every other channel. I've really enjoyed making this video. Hopefully you've found some value in this. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like on this video and comment down below any other ideas or questions you guys have about what you'd like me to make here on the channel. And if you are interested in seeing the next video to help you scale, go and check those ones out you opened up in different tabs, or watch this video right here. I'll see you in the next video.